We'd only been together 5 months. 5 months, and I already knew I'd never felt anything close to what that woman made me feel. Not even close. The kind of thing where you catch yourself thinking about her while you're brushing your teeth, while you're driving to work, while you're standing in line at the gas station doing absolutely nothing. Jackie had walked into my life like a quiet fire, and by the time I noticed the heat, I was already burning. My name is Landon. Back then, I was still living with my parents 2 streets away from Diane's house, and I had no idea the woman I couldn't stop thinking about was carrying a past dark enough to blow my whole life open. But here's the thing about Jackie. She smiled like the whole world was safe, warm, easy, the kind of smile that makes you trust someone before they even say a word. And those eyes, almond-shaped, soft brown, always watching. But behind that softness, there was something else, something locked, something she kept folded up and tucked away where nobody could touch it. I noticed it the very first time we talked. She had this way of going still when certain things came up, like someone pressing pause on a person. It wasn't shyness, it was something heavier, and for the longest time I didn't know what it was. She'd moved in with her Aunt Diane about 7 or 8 months before I met her. Came from a small town out east, somewhere in North Carolina. I never got the full picture of why she left, not in the beginning. What I knew early on was this: she was separated. She had a 4-year-old son named Parker, and her ex-husband, according to her, didn't care about the boy. That's all she gave me. One sentence about the man delivered flat, like she was reading it off a card. He didn't care about Parker. Period. She didn't say his name. She didn't describe him. She didn't tell me what went wrong. And the way she shut the door on the subject made it clear I wasn't supposed to knock again. I respected that, at first, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't need me a little. Not because I was suspicious of her. I wasn't. I was suspicious of what had been done to her. There's a difference. You can feel it in a person when something got taken from them. Jackie had that energy. She was warm. Yeah. She was kind. But she moved through the world like someone who had learned the hard way not to get too comfortable anywhere. I lived with my parents at the time, 2 streets over from Diane's house. My dad worked maintenance at the school district. My mom did bookkeeping part-time for a couple of small businesses in town. Normal family, nothing fancy, nothing broken. And the first time I saw Jackie, she was standing in Diane's front yard holding a Parker on her hip, watching the kid point at something in the sky. I don't even know what he was pointing at. A bird, maybe. A plane. I don't remember. What I remember is her face. The way the late afternoon light hit her cheekbones. The way she tilted her head when she listened to whatever that little boy was saying. Like his words were the most important thing in the world. I was done right there. I asked my mom if she knew who the woman at Diane's house was. She told me Diane's niece had come to stay with her. And she'd come from out of state. That she had a young son and was going through something. Going through something. That phrase sat in my chest like a stone. I didn't know what it meant yet, but I could feel its weight. The next day, I found a reason to walk past Diane's house. Then, the day after that. By the end of the first week, I'd said hello to Jackie 3 times, and each time she'd smiled politely and gone back inside. She wasn't rude. She wasn't cold. She was careful. And careful, I was starting to learn, was her default setting for everything. I asked her out the first time on Saturday. She said no, she said she had to take care of Parker. I asked again the following Wednesday. She said the separation was too recent. I asked a 3rd time a week later. She said she wasn't ready to think about any kind of relationship. 4th time she told me she appreciated it, but she just couldn't. 5th time, she looked at me with something between pity and exhaustion and said, "Landon, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just have too much going on right now." 5 rejections. 5. Most guys would have walked away after 2, maybe 3, if they were stubborn. But something in me wouldn't let go. It wasn't ego. It wasn't the chase. It was the way she looked at me when she said no. There was no hardness in it, no disgust. There was something underneath those refusals that felt almost like she wanted to say yes, but couldn't let herself. Like the word yes had cost her something terrible in the past, and she was still paying for it. 2 months went by. 2 months of me showing up, being friendly, talking to Diane, playing with Parker whenever I saw him outside. The boy took to me fast. He'd run to the fence when he saw me coming. "Landon, Landon!" Little arms reaching through the chain link. Jackie would come out to get him, and I'd see her watching us, and every time, just for a second, her guard would slip. A real smile, not the polite one, the one that reached her eyes. During those 2 months, I started noticing small things. Jackie never sat with her back to a door. Whenever we talked on the porch, she'd position herself so she could see the street. If a car she didn't recognize slowed down near the house, her body would stiffen. Once, a guy came to Diane's door selling cleaning supplies, just some random dude with a bucket and a clipboard, and Jackie grabbed Parker and disappeared into the back room before Diane even answered. Diane made a joke about it later, something about Jackie being jumpy, but the way Diane said it, with a careful smile and eyes that didn't match, told me it wasn't a joke to either of them. Diane knew something, and whatever she knew, she was keeping it sealed just as tight as Jackie was. One afternoon, I saw something that stuck with me. I was heading home from work, cutting through the alley that runs behind Diane's house, and I heard Jackie's voice through the open kitchen window. She was on the phone. I couldn't make out every word, but the tone was off, strained, almost pleading. And then she said something that made me stop walking. "Mom, please, don't tell anyone where I am." There was a pause, then quieter. "I don't care what he says, just don't tell him." She hung up. I heard the phone hit the counter. Then silence, except for what might have been crying. I kept walking. I didn't mention it. But that phone call lived inside my head for days. Don't tell him, don't tell who. And why was she hiding? Then one afternoon, Jackie called me over. I was walking past the house, pretending I wasn't hoping to see her, and she stepped out onto the porch and said, "All right, I'll go out with you." Just like that. No build-up, no warning. My heart jumped into my throat. But before I could even respond, she added, "But I have to bring Parker. I'm not going to ask my aunt to watch him just so I can go on a date. I feel wrong doing that." I told her that was perfectly fine. I told her Parker could come with us anytime, every time, no problem. I meant it. That boy was part of her. If I wanted her, I wanted all of her. I took him for pizza, a little Italian place on 3rd Street, checkered tablecloths, crayons for the kids, the smell of garlic bread filling the whole room. Parker colored on his placemat while Jackie and I talked. Really talked. For the first time, she let me in a little further than the porch. She told me about growing up in a small town, about how she used to help her grandmother with a garden every summer, about how Parker loved dinosaurs and refused to wear shoes indoors. Small things, safe things, but the way she shared them felt enormous, like she was handing me pieces of herself she hadn't given to anyone in a long time. I watched her cut Parker's pizza into tiny squares, blow on each piece before giving it to him, wipe his chin with a napkin she'd already folded in her lap. Every gesture precise, every gesture gentle. And I thought, whoever made this woman run, whoever broke whatever they broke in her, I will never be that person. I didn't say it out loud, but I made that promise to myself right there, in that little pizza place with tomato sauce on my shirt, and a 4-year-old kicking my shin under the table. At one point during dinner, the restaurant door slammed shut, wind probably. But Jackie flinched, hard, the whole body locked up and her eyes shot toward the entrance. When she realized it was nothing, she exhaled slowly and went back to cutting Parker's food. She caught me watching. "Sorry," she said. "Loud noises." But it wasn't loud noises. We both knew that. When I drove them home, she asked me to stop in front of the house instead of pulling into the driveway. She told Parker to go inside, that she'd be right there. She just needed to say goodbye. The boy hugged my leg, ran to the door and disappeared inside. Then it was just us, standing by the gate, the street light buzzing overhead. Crickets somewhere in the dark. She looked at me and I looked at her, and something shifted in the air between us. Not dramatic, not cinematic, just a quiet click, like a lock turning open after a long time rusted shut. I leaned in. She didn't pull away. When I kissed her, I felt something I'd never felt before, weightless, like gravity had given up on me. Her lips were soft. She tasted like the iced tea she'd been drinking, and when she pulled back, she smiled. really smiled and whispered, "Good night, Landon." I walked home that night feeling like my shoes weren't touching the ground. After that first date, things moved slowly. Jackie made it clear more than once that she didn't want a serious relationship. Not yet. Not now. The separation was too fresh, she said. She needed time. She needed space. She needed to figure out her own life before she let someone else into it. I said I understood, and I did. But here's the thing about two people who can't stop reaching for each other. The rules they set don't last. We kept finding reasons to be together. A walk in the park with Parker. Coffee on Diane's porch while the boy napped. A movie at my parents' house on a Friday night when Diane offered to watch the kid. One thing folded into another, and before either of us admitted it, we were in a relationship. She'd text me at 7 a.m. asking if I'd eaten breakfast. She'd call me at 10 p.m. wanting to know why I hadn't texted back yet. She'd ask where I'd been if I got home late from work. She'd narrow her eyes when I mentioned any female name in any context. For someone who said she didn't want to be serious, Jackie kept a very close watch on my time. And the truth is, I loved it. I was doing the same thing. Tracking her schedule, wanting to know who she talked to at work, counting the hours until I saw her again. She'd gotten a job at a grocery store about a month after we started seeing each other. Cashier, nothing glamorous, but she was proud of it. She'd come home with stories about rude customers and weird coupons, and she'd tell them with this dry humor I hadn't seen in her before. Like working a normal job in a normal town was slowly teaching her how to be a normal person again. She'd also found a spot for Parker at a daycare a few blocks from Diane's house. Things were stabilizing for her piece by piece, and I could see it in the way she carried herself. A little less guarded, a little less tense, but the locked room inside her was still locked. I'd feel it sometimes in the middle of a normal conversation, this sudden chill that would pass over her face. A word, a tone, a topic, and she'd go quiet. Not angry quiet, frozen quiet, like a deer hearing a branch snap in the dark. There was one moment about 3 months in that I still think about. We were at Diane's watching something on TV after Parker fell asleep on the couch. A commercial came on, some public service announcement about domestic violence. A woman's voice talking about getting help, about recognizing the signs. Jackie stood up without a word, walked into the kitchen, and didn't come back for 10 minutes. When she did, her eyes were red. She sat down next to me and put her head on my shoulder, but didn't say anything. I didn't ask, but the commercial had told me something she couldn't. One night, sitting on Diane's porch, Jackie said something that caught me off guard. "Sometimes," she said, not looking at me, "I feel like I'm in the way here, like I'm bothering Diane." I asked her what she meant. She shrugged. "I don't know. Have you ever felt like you're somewhere, and no matter how nice everyone is, you just feel like you don't belong? Like you're taking up space that isn't yours?" I told her Diane loved her, that she was family, that she wasn't alone. But Jackie shook her head slowly. "I've been thinking about getting a place. Just me and Parker. Something small. But what I make at the store isn't enough. And I'd need furniture, appliances, everything." I asked her if she'd left anything behind at her old place back in North Carolina. Furniture, household stuff, anything that could be shipped. The moment the question left my mouth, I felt the temperature drop. Her face changed. Not a lot, just enough for me to notice. Her jaw tightened. Her eyes went somewhere else. Somewhere I couldn't follow. "No," she said. "There's nothing to go back for." She said it like she was closing a casket. And in that silence, I heard the echo of the phone call through Diane's kitchen window. "Don't tell him where I am." The way she flinched at the slamming door. The way she watched the PSA with wet eyes. Pieces I couldn't quite fit together yet, but pieces that were starting to form a shape I didn't want to see. I didn't push. I'd learned by then that pushing Jackie toward her past was like pushing someone toward a cliff. She'd brace, she'd resist, and if I kept going, she'd shut down entirely. So I let it go. But the question stayed. What exactly had she left behind? And why did even the mention of that place make her look like she'd seen something she couldn't unsee? Over the next few weeks, Jackie brought up the idea of getting her own place a couple more times. Each time I could tell it wasn't just about independence. There was urgency in it, like she needed walls between herself and something I couldn't name. Then, one evening, almost without thinking, I said it. What if we moved in together, you, me, and Parker? It came out natural, like I'd been waiting for my mouth to catch up to what my brain already knew. Jackie looked at me. Her lips parted slightly. She didn't say anything for a few seconds, but her eyes, those careful, guarded eyes, they softened. Not all the way, but enough. Are you serious? She asked. Dead serious. I've told you 100 times, Jackie. I'm in love with you. I'd do anything for you. She didn't say yes that night, but she didn't say no either. The idea sat between us, growing. Over the next week, we kept coming back to it, testing it, imagining it. What kind of place, what neighborhood, how we'd split things. Each conversation made it more real, and each time Jackie looked a little more like someone who was allowing herself to hope again. But even in those moments, there was an edge to her. She'd say things like, just promise me one thing, Landon. Promise me it'll be different this time. This time, which meant there had been a last time, and the last time had left scars she still couldn't show me. Then one Tuesday, she brought it up herself. Did you change your mind? She asked, standing in Diane's kitchen, drying a plate, not looking at me. I told her no, of course not. She set the plate down, turned and said, then let's do it. She told me she'd already talked to Diane. Diane had some concerns, she said, thought the relationship was too new, but she hadn't tried to stop her. Jackie was an adult. It was her decision. A condition came next. Jackie looked me in the eyes and said, we're going to live together, Landon. But if it doesn't work out, we go our separate ways. No fights, no ugliness, no screaming, no breaking things. I won't go through that again. Those last 5 words landed heavy. I won't go through that again, screaming, breaking things. She wasn't talking in hypotheticals. She was talking about what she knew, what she'd survived. I asked her what she meant, what exactly she'd gone through. Her expression tightened. She didn't answer. Instead, she asked, are we agreed? I nodded. What else could I do? She was standing right there, offering me exactly what I wanted. And the price of entry was not asking about the thing she couldn't say out loud. I paid it. But the unanswered question planted itself deep, and it grew roots. Later that night, I talked to Diane alone. She was taking out the trash, and I caught her at the curb. I asked her straight out if Jackie's ex had hurt her. Diane looked at me for a long time. Then she said very quietly, just take care of her. That's all I'm going to say. Take care of that girl and that baby. She picked up the trash can and walked back inside. She didn't turn around. And the way she said it, not as advice, but as a warning, told me more than Jackie had ever told me herself. We found a small rental in the same neighborhood, 2-bedroom in the back of a lot with 3 other houses, sharing a driveway, a narrow patch of grass between the buildings. The bathroom was tiny. The kitchen had old countertops and a stove with one burner that didn't light. But standing in that empty living room with Jackie, watching her look around at the bare walls and the scuffed hardwood floor, I felt something I'd never felt before. A beginning. The first thing Jackie did when we got the keys was check the locks, both doors, every window. She tested the deadbolt on the front door 3 times. She asked me if I could add a chain lock. I said sure, thinking it was normal new house stuff. But the way she checked those locks, methodical, serious, pressing her palm flat against each door, like she was measuring its strength, that wasn't someone worried about a break-in. That was someone worried about a specific person getting in. My parents helped us furnish the place. My mum brought a kitchen table, couple chairs, a set of pots she wasn't using. My dad carried over a couch from the garage, bedding, towels, a coffee maker. Diane contributed dishes, a small dresser for Parker's room, curtains for the front windows. The day we moved in, Jackie did something I didn't expect. After we'd put everything in place, after Parker was asleep in his new room, she stood in the middle of the living room and looked around at all of it. The second-hand furniture, the mismatched plates, the crooked curtain rod, and she started crying. Not sad crying, grateful crying. She looked at me and said, "This is mine. This is actually mine." And the way she said it told me that wherever she'd been before, nothing had ever been hers. I held her. I didn't say anything. I just let her feel it. But somewhere underneath that beautiful moment, underneath the tears and the gratitude and the feeling of finally being home, a darker thought was forming. If she'd never had anything that was hers, what kind of man had she been living with? And if she was this relieved to be free, how bad had it really been? By then, we'd been together 7 months. My mum suggested we celebrate. She offered to host a lunch at my parents' house, a gathering to mark our new chapter. She insisted on paying for everything. We invited close family, a few cousins, my brother Diane and her husband, maybe 23 people total. My dad borrowed tables and chairs from the bar owner down the road, rigged up a tarp in the front yard for shade. The weather was perfect. Clear sky, warm sun, a light breeze that carried the smell of grilled food across the whole block. Jackie looked stunning. She and Diane had spent the morning getting her ready. Her hair was pinned up with small silver clips that caught the light. She wore a white dress borrowed from Diane, fitted at the waist, falling just past her knees. It wasn't a wedding. Nothing was official. But she looked like a bride, and I couldn't stop staring. She caught me looking at one point and shook her head, half smiling, half embarrassed. "Stop it," she said. But she didn't mean it. I could tell by the way her cheeks flushed. I was the happiest man alive that afternoon. I sat at that table next to Jackie, Parker on her lap picking at a bread roll, surrounded by people who cared about us. And I thought, this is it. This is the life I was supposed to build. Everything before this was just waiting. At one point, my mom raised her glass and said a few words. Nothing formal, just something about being happy for us, about how Jackie and Parker were part of the family now. Jackie's eyes welled up. She squeezed my hand under the table, hard, and when I looked at her, she mouthed the words, "Thank you." Not to my mom, to me. Like I'd given her something she never thought she'd have again. That moment, her eyes shining, her fingers laced through mine, the sun on her face. That's the image I keep coming back to, because it was the last perfect minute before everything changed. The food was out. People were eating, talking, laughing. My cousin had a speaker set up playing music. Paper plates, plastic cups, cheap tablecloths with flower patterns. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. I was so completely wrapped in that feeling, so deep in the gratitude of being exactly where I was supposed to be, that I almost didn't notice when the gate opened. A man walked in, alone, uninvited. I didn't recognize him. He wasn't a neighbor, he wasn't a friend of anyone I knew. He was tall, thick-necked, wearing jeans and a dark t-shirt that stretched tight across his chest. He walked straight through the yard, past the tables, past my family, past the speaker still playing something upbeat that now sounded obscene against the tension building in the air. He stopped directly in front of our table, mine and Jackie's. He stood there, feet planted, shoulders squared, and he looked at her. Not at me, not at the food, the decorations, the boy in her lap. Just at her. And the way he looked at her made every muscle in my body tighten. It wasn't just anger, it was possession. The look of a man staring at something he considered his property. I turned to Jackie. Her face had gone white, paper white. Her mouth was open slightly, her breath shallow, her hands trembling on Parker's back. She knew this man. She knew exactly who he was. Parker looked up at his mother's face and went still, sensing something a child should never have to sense. And in that moment, every unanswered question, every locked door, every frozen silence, every flinch at a slamming door, every phone call begging her mother not to reveal her location, every time she'd changed the subject when North Carolina came up, every time she'd said, "I won't go through that again," with a voice that carried the weight of something I couldn't see, all of it started to connect. The pieces that had been floating around in my head for months snapped together, and the picture they formed made my blood run cold. Then he spoke. His voice was calm, but it was the wrong kind of calm. The kind that comes from rage being held on a short leash. "Thought I wouldn't find you, huh?" he said, eyes fixed on Jackie. "Thought I wouldn't track down your aunt's address? You really thought you could just disappear?" He looked around the yard, the decorations, the people frozen in their seats, forks halfway to their mouths, the music still playing stupidly cheerful. "What is all this?" he said. "Some kind of party? What exactly are we celebrating here?" Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I could feel the silence spreading through the yard like something physical, pressing against everyone's chest. 23 people, and not a single sound except the tinny music from the speaker and this man's voice cutting through everything. I looked at Jackie. She still hadn't said a word. Her body was rigid. Her eyes were locked on his face, and what I saw in them wasn't just fear. It was recognition. The kind of recognition that comes from knowing exactly what a person is capable of, because you've already survived it once, and I already knew. Before he said another word, before he told anyone his name or his claim, I already knew exactly who this man was. Every silence Jackie had kept, every question she'd deflected, every flinch and frozen moment and locked door inside her, they had all been about him. But knowing didn't prepare me for what came next. I stood up from the chair. I don't even remember deciding to stand. My body just did it, like instinct had taken over before my brain could catch up. I looked at the man standing in my parents' yard, this stranger who had walked through the gate like he owned the place, and I said, "Who are you? This is a private family event." He didn't look at me. Not yet. His eyes were still locked on Jackie, and the way he watched her, scanning her face, her white dress, her pinned-up hair, the little silver clips catching the afternoon light, it wasn't the look of a man seeing someone he loved. It was the look of a man taking inventory of something that had been stolen from him. "Who am I?" he said, finally turning his head in my direction. His voice was thick with contempt. "I'm her husband. That woman sitting right there is my wife. She took my son and disappeared in the middle of the day while I was at work. No note, no call, nothing. Just gone." He swung his gaze back to Jackie. "Where's Parker? Where's my boy?" The word husband landed on me like a cinder block dropped from a rooftop, not because I didn't suspect it. By now I'd been assembling pieces for months. The phone call, the flinching, the locked room inside her. But suspecting something and hearing it confirmed out loud in front of your family, and a celebration you thought was the beginning of your life together, those are two very different things. I looked at Jackie. She was frozen. Her arms were wrapped around Parker, pulling him into her chest. The boy had gone completely still, his face pressed against his mother's collarbone, and I could see his small fingers gripping the fabric of her dress. Jackie's lips were moving slightly, but no sound was coming out. Her eyes were wide, wet, fixed on the man in front of her, like she was watching a car crash she couldn't stop. Nobody at the tables moved. My cousin's speaker was still playing music, some ridiculous pop song that felt like it belonged to a different universe. My mom had her hand over her mouth. My dad was halfway out of his seat. Diane, across the yard, had gone pale, her fork frozen in midair. I stepped around the table and positioned myself between Jackie and the man. "I don't care what you say you are," I told him. "Jackie is with me now. We live together. She's not going anywhere with you." That's when he finally looked at me, really looked at me, and I watched something shift in his face. Until that moment, I don't think he'd fully understood what was happening. The decorations, the white dress, the family gathering. He'd walked in expecting to find a woman hiding at her aunt's house. Instead, he'd found her building a new life with another man. I saw the realization hit him. His jaw clenched, his nostrils flared. His shoulders squared up like someone bracing for a fight. "Who are you?" he said. It wasn't really a question. It was a threat shaped like words. "What did you just say to me?" "I said she's my wife now, my family, and she's not going anywhere." He stared at me for what felt like a full minute, but was probably 5 seconds. Then he turned back to Jackie. "What is this?" he said. His voice was rising. "Is this some kind of joke, Jackie? You run off with my kid, hide at your aunt's house, and now you're playing house with some random guy. Who is this clown? Answer me." Jackie still didn't speak. Her whole body was trembling. Parker whimpered against her chest, and she held him tighter, rocking slightly. The way you do when you're trying to calm a child, but you're the one who needs calming. "She doesn't have to answer you," I said. "You need to leave, right now." He took a step closer. "Or what?" My brother Marcus stood up from his chair. then my cousin Derek, then my other cousin Jay. 3 men, all on their feet, all watching this stranger who had walked into our family gathering and started making demands. I could feel the energy in the yard shifting. Every person there understood what was happening. Every person there could feel the danger rising. The man noticed them standing. His eyes darted from Marcus to Derek to Jay and back to me. For a second, just a second, I thought he might back down. I thought the math might register. 4 men against 1, a yard full of witnesses, a neighborhood where somebody would call the police if things went further. But whatever calculation he was running, it came up with the wrong answer. He reached across the table. His hand closed around the handle of the carving knife sitting next to the platter of sliced meat. He lifted it, turned it in his grip, and held it at his side. The blade was maybe 8 inches long, serrated edge, wooden handle, a barbecue knife, the kind you use to cut brisket, the kind that could open a person up without any effort at all. "First one who comes near me," he said, and his voice had dropped low, almost calm. "I'll gut like a fish." The yard emptied out, not all at once, but fast. People pushed back from tables, chairs scraped against concrete, women grabbed children. My mum pulled my youngest cousin behind her and back toward the house. One of the folding tables tipped over, sending plates and cups crashing to the ground. In 10 seconds, the space between us and him had cleared, and the only people still close were me, Jackie, Parker, and the man holding the knife. My hands were shaking, not from fear, or maybe partly from fear, but mostly from the adrenaline slamming through my system so hard I could hear my own pulse in my ears. I was calculating. Distance, angle, how fast he could swing that blade, how fast I could close the gap, whether I could get between him and Jackie before he reached her. The math wasn't good. He was close, too close. And she was sitting down, holding a child, unable to move quickly even if she wanted to. I didn't move. I wanted to. Every cell in my body was screaming at me to grab the closest heavy object and close the distance before he could use that blade. But I also knew that if I charged him, the first thing he'd do is turn toward Jackie. She was closer. She was the one he wanted. And Parker was in her arms. He pointed the knife at Jackie. "Get up," he said. "Get Parker. We're leaving. Right now. You're coming home with me today." That's when she spoke. For the first time since he walked through the gate, Jackie opened her mouth and sound came out. And the voice I heard wasn't the quiet, careful, measured voice I'd known for 7 months. It was something raw, something that had been buried under years of silence and compliance, something that sounded like it was tearing its way out of her chest with its bare hands. "I'm not going anywhere with you," she said. Her voice cracked when it held. "I'm done. You hear me? Done. I'm not going back to being your punching bag. I'm not going back to getting hit in front of my son. I'm not going back to that house, and I'm not going back to you. Not today. Not ever. Punching bag. Hit in front of my son." The words echoed through the yard like gunfire. Every person still within earshot heard them. My mother, my father, my brother, Diane. The neighbors who'd come out onto their porches to see what was happening. Jackie had just said out loud in front of everyone the thing she'd been locking away since the day I met her. The thing behind the flinching, the phone calls, the frozen silences, the obsessive lock-checking, the way she moved through the world like someone expecting to be struck. This man had beaten her, regularly, in their home, in front of their child, and she had run. The man's face went through something I can only describe as a short circuit. His jaw tightened, his free hand rolled into a fist. He took a step toward her, and I moved to block him. "Touch her, and I will end you," I said. I meant it. Every word. He shoved me with his free hand, hard, but I kept my footing. My brother Marcus stepped up behind me. Derek was circling to the right, trying to get an angle. The man swung the knife in a wide arc, forcing everyone back, and screamed at Jackie. "You think I'm playing? You think this is over? You're my wife. Parker is my son. You will come home, Jackie, even if I have to carry you out of here in a box. You understand me? In a box." He said that in front of 20 people, in front of a 4-year-old boy who was now crying into his mother's chest, in front of my parents, in their own yard, at a celebration for the woman he was threatening to kill. Jackie was sobbing, deep, shaking sobs that seemed to come from somewhere beneath her ribs. But she didn't move. She didn't get up. She held Parker and she stayed in that chair. And through the tears she said it again, "I'm not going." The next 60 seconds were the longest of my life. We were locked in a standoff, me and my family on one side, this man with a knife on the other, and Jackie and Parker in between. I could hear sirens, faint at first, then closer. Somebody had called 911. Somebody in that yard or one of the neighbors had picked up a phone and dialed while the rest of us were frozen. The man heard the sirens too. His head snapped toward the street. The sound of an approaching cruiser changes people. I've seen it. The ones who are genuinely dangerous, the ones who aren't just performing, they either escalate or they deflate. He deflated, not completely, but enough. His grip on the knife loosened. His arm dropped to his side. He set the blade back on the table, slowly, like he was making a point that he was choosing to put it down, not being forced. By the time the cruiser pulled up, and 2 officers came through the gate, he was standing with his hands visible, playing calm. But his face was still tight, his breathing still fast, and the hatred in his eyes when he looked at Jackie hadn't dimmed at all. The officers separated us. One talked to him, one talked to me. I told them everything, what he'd said. The knife, the threat about the box. Jackie, still holding Parker, still shaking, confirmed it through broken sentences. Diane walked over and put her arm around Jackie's shoulders and spoke to the officer in a voice I'd never heard from her before, steady as steel, each word chosen to cut through any doubt. "That man beat my niece for years," she said. "She fled from him. She took her son and she ran. He tracked her here. He came with the intent to take her by force. He grabbed a knife and threatened to kill her in front of her child." The officers looked at each other. One nodded. "They put him in handcuffs. He didn't resist, but he didn't go quietly either. As they walked him toward the cruiser, he turned his head and looked straight at Jackie. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The look said everything. This isn't over. I know where you are now." Then the car door shut and he was gone. The yard was silent. The music had stopped at some point, though I don't remember who turned it off. Tables were overturned, chairs knocked sideways, paper plates on the ground, food scattered, plastic cups crushed. The tarp my dad had put up for shade was hanging crooked from one of the posts. It looked like the aftermath of a storm. And in a way, it was. People started leaving, quiet hugs, whispered apologies. Nobody knew what to say. My mum was crying. My dad was standing by the gate with his arms crossed, staring at the empty street where the cruiser had been. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder, squeezed once and walked away without a word. Diane took Parker. Jackie couldn't stop shaking long enough to hold him steady, so Diane scooped him up and took him to her car, murmuring something soft into his ear. Something about going to get ice cream, something small and sweet to put between a 4-year-old boy and the worst thing he ever witnessed. I drove Jackie home. The little rental with the second-hand furniture and the chain lock I'd installed on the front door because she'd asked me to. She didn't say a word during the 5-minute drive. She sat in the passenger seat with her hands in her lap, tears running down her face in slow, silent streams, and she looked out the window at nothing. When we got inside, she sat down on the couch and stared at the wall. I sat next to her. I didn't say anything. I didn't ask anything. I just sat there, close enough that my shoulders touched, and I waited. I waited because I knew that whatever was coming next had to come from her, not from my questions, not from my need to understand, from her, on her terms, in her time. It took almost 20 minutes, 20 minutes of silence except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional sound of a car passing on the street outside. Then she started talking. She told me everything. She told me she'd married him when she was 19, that in the beginning he'd been sweet, attentive, the kind of guy who opened car doors and brought flowers. She said the change came slowly, so slowly she didn't recognize it until she was already trapped. It started small. A comment about her clothes, a criticism about the way she cooked, a raised voice that became a shove, that became a slap, that became a fist. She told me he would hit her and then apologize, cry, promise it would never happen again. Buy her something, hold her all night and whisper that he loved her. She told me the cycle repeated so many times that she stopped counting the apologies and started counting the bruises. She told me about the night he threw a glass at her head while Parker was sitting in his high chair screaming. About the time he kicked her in the ribs because dinner was cold, then stepped over her body to grab a beer from the fridge. About the morning she woke up on the bathroom floor with dried blood on her lip because he'd knocked her unconscious the night before and left her there. And when she came downstairs, he was eating cereal and watching TV like nothing had happened. She told me that the only person who knew was her mother, and even her mother didn't know all of it, because some things are too heavy to say out loud, even to the person who brought you into the world. She told me she'd planned her escape for 3 weeks, packed a bag and hid it under the bed, memorized bus schedules, called Diane from a payphone because she was afraid he was checking her cell records. On the day she left, she waited until he drove to work, loaded Parker into the car and drove 12 hours straight to Diane's door. She arrived at 3 in the morning, shaking so hard she could barely hold the boy, and Diane opened the door without a single question and pulled them both inside. She told me she'd been hiding ever since, that her mother was the only one who knew where she was, and that she'd begged her mother not to tell anyone, especially him. But he'd figured it out. Somehow he'd figured it out. Maybe he'd pressured her mother. Maybe he'd gone through old records and found Diane's address. Jackie didn't know how, and at this point it didn't matter. He'd found her. He'd come. He'd stood in that yard and threatened to put her in a box, and the life she'd been so carefully rebuilding. The job, the apartment, the man who loved her, the celebration with the white dress and the silver clips in her hair, all of it had almost been ripped away in a single afternoon. When she finished talking, she was curled into the corner of the couch with her knees pulled up to her chest, arms wrapped around herself, and she looked at me with eyes that were asking a question she couldn't put into words. Are you still here? After all of this, after knowing what I come from, after seeing the man who owned me walk into your family's yard with a knife, are you still here? I put my hand on her knee. I looked at her, and I said, I'm not going anywhere, Jackie. Not now, not ever. She broke. Not the quiet crying from the car. This was deep, shaking, full-body sobbing. The kind that sounds like something inside a person is finally being released after years of being held down by force. She leaned into me, and I held her, and I let her cry until there was nothing left. The next few days were hard. We didn't know what would happen with him, whether he'd make bail, whether he'd come back. Jackie barely slept. She'd lie next to me in bed, stiff as a board, listening to every sound outside the window. A dog barking would make her sit up. Headlights sweeping across the curtain would make her grab my arm. Parker, he'd wake up screaming in the middle of the night, and Jackie would rush to his room and hold him in the rocking chair Diane had given us, singing softly until he fell back asleep. I'd stand in the doorway watching them, and the anger inside me was so thick I could taste it. 2 days after the incident, Diane came over. She sat at our kitchen table and confirmed everything Jackie had told me, and then some. She said she'd known about the abuse for years, long before Jackie showed up at her door. She said Jackie's mother had called her once, years ago, crying, saying she was worried her daughter was going to end up dead. Diane had tried to get Jackie to leave back then, but Jackie wasn't ready. She was scared. She believed him when he said he'd change. She believed him every single time, until the night he hit her, while Parker was watching, and something inside her finally snapped. That girl did the bravest thing I've ever seen. Diane told me, her voice quiet and firm. She packed a bag, put her baby in the car, and drove 12 hours through the night to get away from that man. She didn't have money. She didn't have a plan. She just knew that if she stayed one more day, he was going to kill her, or her son was going to grow up watching his mother get beaten until it seemed normal. Diane looked at me across the table. So you take care of her, Landon, you hear me? That woman chose you. She chose you after everything she's been through. Don't make her regret it. He was held in county for several days. Then he posted bail and was released. When Jackie found out, the color drained from her face, and she didn't speak for an hour. I watched her go to the front door and check the deadbolt, then the chain lock, then the windows, the same way she'd done the day we moved in. The same ritual. the same fear. Like months of progress had been erased in a single phone call. I sat with her and told her I would handle it, that we'd figure it out, that he wasn't going to get to her. I could see she wanted to believe me. I could also see the part of her that had heard promises before and learned not to trust them. I started sleeping lighter after that. Every creak of the house, every car door outside, every footstep on the shared driveway, my eyes would snap open and I'd lie there listening, hand on the baseball bat I'd started keeping under the bed. Jackie didn't know about the bat. I didn't want her to, but I also wasn't going to let that man get within 10 feet of her without being ready. But he didn't come back. A week passed, then 2, then a month. From what we heard through Diane, who heard it through Jackie's mother, he'd gone back to North Carolina. Whether it was because of the charges, or because he realized she wasn't coming back, or because something else was happening in his life we didn't know, but he was gone. And for the first time since I'd known her, Jackie started to breathe like someone who wasn't expecting to be hit. I kept my word. I found a lawyer, a woman named Sandra who worked out of a small office downtown and specialized in domestic violence cases. She took Jackie's case and filed for divorce and full custody of Parker. Jackie sat in that office and told her story to a stranger for the second time in a month. And this time she did it without crying. She did it with her back straight and her voice steady and her hands flat on the table. And when she was done, Sandra looked at her and said, "You're going to be okay." Jackie nodded, and I believed it. The divorce went through faster than I expected. He didn't contest it, didn't show up for the hearing, didn't fight for custody. Maybe the charges had scared him. Maybe he'd found someone else to control. Maybe the distance had broken whatever twisted attachment he'd mistaken for love. I don't know and I don't care. What I know is that one Thursday afternoon, Jackie walked out of the courthouse holding a piece of paper that said she was free, and she stood on the steps in the sunlight and took the deepest breath I'd ever seen a person take. She closed her eyes and tilted her face toward the sky, and the silver clips she was wearing in her hair, the same ones from the celebration, the ones Diane had given her, caught the light the same way they had that day in my parents' yard. But this time, nobody was coming through the gate. This time, the only thing waiting for her was the rest of her life. That night, after Parker was asleep, she sat next to me on the couch and put her head on my shoulder, the same way she'd done that night after the PSA commercial, the same way she'd done a dozen times before. But this time was different. There was no tension in her body, no frozen stillness, no deer listening for a grudge, just a woman leaning against the man she trusted, in a home that was hers, in a life she'd built from nothing. "Thank you," she said. "For what? For not running. When he showed up, when you found out anything, you didn't run." I put my arm around her. "I told you, I'm not going anywhere." She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "You know, when I first got here, I didn't think I'd ever feel safe again. I thought that feeling was gone forever. I thought he'd taken it and I'd never get it back." She paused. I was wrong. I kissed the top of her head. I didn't say anything else. There wasn't anything else to say. The truth was simpler than any words I could have put together. This woman had survived things I couldn't fully imagine. She'd run from a monster. She'd built a life from scratch in a town where she knew nobody but her heart. She'd let herself fall in love again, even though love was the thing that had almost destroyed her. She'd stood up in that yard, with a knife pointed at her and her son in her arms, and she'd said no. After years of silence, after years of compliance, after years of believing she had no choice, she'd said no. And I was lucky enough to be the person standing next to her when she did. Everybody has a past. Jackie's was darker than most, but she hadn't done a single thing wrong. She'd survived. She'd protected her son. She'd run when running was the only option left. And yes, she'd kept things from me. She'd hidden her scars, locked her doors, deflected my questions. But I understood why. When the world has taught you that trust gets you hurt, you don't hand it out to the first person who asks. You wait, you watch, you test, and when you finally give it knowing it might cost you everything. Because it cost you everything once before. I promised her I would never leave her side, that I would protect her and Parker with everything I had, even if it cost me my own life. Some people might say that's dramatic, that it's too much, that 5 months isn't long enough to make a promise like that. But those people have never watched the woman they love stand up to a man with a knife and say, "I'm not going back." They've never held her while she cried out years of silence on a second-hand couch in a rental with a broken stove. They've never seen her walk out of a courthouse with a piece of paper in her hand and breathe like it's the first time. I don't care if it sounds like too much. Without that woman beside me, my life would be empty. Without her and that little boy asleep down the hall, nothing I do means anything. I know that now. I knew it the moment I kissed her at the gate, and I know it now. And I'll know it for as long as I'm breathing. Some people come into your life and they change everything. Jackie didn't just change my life, she gave me a reason to have one. What would you do in this situation? Be honest, or did this remind you of someone? Tell me in the comments. And if this made you think about your own relationship, I left something in the description that can help you build something stronger. Subscribe if you want more stories like this every day, and share this with someone who needs to hear this story.